All right, we're out for another recording of The Medicine Game, and we have Tom Muldoon, whom everyone knows from previous podcasts, Nick Nesbitt, who is an All-American goalie from RIT. He played in the D3 championships this past June against Salisbury State. Unfortunately, they came up a little bit short. Two great programs, though, going at it in D3. Nick has some experience playing box lacrosse up in Canada, and currently plays goalie, but played out up in Canada. So we'll have some questions for him in those realms. And then, my name Chad Zanotti. So we got another podcast coming at you. Should be a lot of fun as usual. So welcome, Nick. Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks for having me, Chad.
Couple of questions I wanted to ask you, and we keep this. There's no big time structure to this. We're just having some fun dialogue and a brainstorming. So first question would be, how has the game of lacrosse impacted your life?
The game of lacrosse has impacted my life in so many ways that it's hard to nail down one specific way. But I would definitely say that I've been able to go a lot of places because of lacrosse, and I've been fortunate enough to go to these places. Whereas a lot of kids aren't able to go and travel from Canada to New Mexico, Canada to Colorado, Canada to go to prep school in Connecticut, Canada to go to university at RIT. So I'm fortunate that the game's shown me the world, and in showing me the world has introduced me to so many great people like Thomas, like great coaches like Jake Kuhn at RIT, Bobby Wynn at Salisbury. There's just so many great people that I've met, and through traveling to places to play lacrosse and coach lacrosse and whatnot. And I think that's the biggest way this game's impacted my life.
Nice. What prep schools go to in Connecticut?
The Salisbury School. It's actually where I met Thomas. Thomas was my grade 10 biology teacher.
Awesome, dude. I actually grew up in
6 years ago.
Yeah, 6 years ago. 7 years ago. 6. 7.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat. And I grew up in Simsbury, so that was up kind of middle.
Yeah.
Right near the Notch in Connecticut.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Salisbury is a great school. What has
school's
been
in Simsbury?
There's Westminster. Avon Old Farms is right next door. Loomis Chaffee is right there. Choate, I think, is more northeastern, but there's some really good lacrosse schools. Avon Old Farms in particular was the powerhouse in our area.
Right on.
What's been the favorite place you've traveled to, the favorite location you've traveled to with lacrosse as the reason that you went?
It's a good question. I would say Colorado. I think Colorado's an awesome state. It's, New Mexico is awesome also. I really like it here. Colorado's got a little bit more diversity. It's more people. The lacrosse is a little bit more built up, so the level of play is high, and there's a great box lacrosse league up there that I definitely want to check out sometime. But the Vail shootout is like the coolest tournament ever. Lake Placid also got to be up there for me. Like Lakes Placid and Vail are definitely the coolest places I've been, and like the coolest places that lacrosse has taken me to.
That's cool. You're just getting started too.
Yeah.
That's neat. Another question would be, how passionate are you about sharing the origin of the game of lacrosse with others? I
would say on a scale of 1 to 10, it would be a 10 for sure, because, the game of lacrosse, I think, is the greatest game ever. In Canada, lacrosse is our national sport. And growing up, I've also had many Native American friends. One friend that passed away that Thomas also knew, a kid that I went to Salisbury with, Gunadio Adams. and he brought the Native American cultural side of lacrosse into my life. And at his funeral, our team at Salisbury went up, and there's Dio's father, Dio's mother, Dio's brothers. They all shared with us a lot about the game and a lot about Deo Aradu, and that I didn't know, that us guys from Salisbury didn't know, and a lot about the game, that a lot about the ancestry of the game and culture of the game that I think the majority of people playing the game don't know. I think it's important that we get back to those roots, and it's only through really word of mouth and through people putting it out there and explaining to others, teaching others about it, that we can get everyone in the game back to those cultural roots of lacrosse. Or they ought to do.
They ought to do being lacrosse and all.
Yeah.
And
I hope I'm pronouncing it right. I think I am.
What's that?
I hope I'm pronouncing it right. I believe I am.
Yeah.
But I cringe every time Quinn Kestnick says Tuerton. It's just like, you're just not pronouncing it right.
Tom, were you coaching at the time when Nick was at
I
Salisbury?
was. So when I got the job at Salisbury, they wanted me to coach lacrosse, but I really wanted to teach. And so when they offered me a position, it was going to be in admissions and then coaching lacrosse. And I said I would take the job if they could find me a teaching position. And they had an open bio slot, and I had taken a bunch of environmental studies classes in college. And so they said, well, we need an intro level bio teacher for high school if you want that. And I said, I'll take it. And then when I got there, they actually they had maybe four or five assistant coaches on the varsity, and they asked me if I wanted to be the head coach at JV. So I never got to coach Nick. No. You were on varsity your sophomore year.
But you shot at me on the turf all the time.
Yeah, I got to warm him up and stuff.
It's one of the best parts, right?
Yeah, absolutely. My favorite part.
And back then, say if we rewind to the time when the player passed, how there's the familial culture, his own family, but then how about the entire program? Was there an impact throughout the entire program?
At Salisbury?
At Salisbury? Yeah, certainly. I would say, well, it started like my junior year. We walked onto the field playing the Iroquois national anthem. I'm not sure what it is in Mohawk or in a Native American language, what the anthem's actually called. But we walked onto the field playing, and that was like our come out song. And our captain AJ Carfora, he walked out holding like a traditional wooden stick, and like holding that up and leading us out. And we had K12 like a sticker on the back of our helmet, and it's continued where the number 12 it wasn't worn that year, but I believe now it's worn by a kid that embodies everything that lacrosse is from its start to today, and a kid that understands the traditional values of the game and the culture that surrounds it. So certainly impacted us, and every day I know we went out on the field thinking about, hey, like there's another reason for why we're doing this. It's not just to go and play for ourselves, to go and win a championship, or it's something bigger. It's something bigger than ourselves. It's something that transcends, just stepping on the field and rolling a ball out.
Absolutely. And that's something, Chad, you and I have talked a lot about is the depth of the game. And, hearing Nick's story, I knew Tio. He passed away after I left. But having the game as that foundational connection point, it creates so much opportunity for reflection and so much opportunity for celebrating his life. I think about a football team where I've seen football or basketball teams where they've lost a friend and they have that sticker on the side, but that's almost as far as it goes, just honoring that player. But to be able to integrate the game itself, like you're saying, now there's the number 12 at Salisbury is a player who represents what a true lacrosse player is. You know, I don't know what a true basketball player is. I don't know what a true football player is, a true baseball player. But when I think of a true lacrosse player, I think of something that's much deeper than skills. It's much deeper than how they connect on the field. It's having a true respect, reverence, and just connection to the actual roots of the game, which go back thousands of years. You know, there's so much potential.
Yeah, and I think if I'm understanding the direction that you're going, it's on and off the field. It's not just what the player does on the field. It's who they are as a character. And we had Ira on last week, and just he's on the call for 3 minutes, and you can tell his just persona is so. It's unique. And I always use that word zen. It's very grounded, and so I think what I'm hearing at least is that it's on and off the field. It's a true character. A lacrosse player is a true character who is out there to work hard, but when all is said and done, to unite people and to help others.
Absolutely, certainly. So
that must have been real challenging for the players, for the coaching staff, for the entire school, but at the same time, a very, a solid learning experience and connection with the culture. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
So you played goalie, Nick, and there are goalies out there. What's that?
The hardest position by far.
My goodness. That's taking it lightly. That's an understatement. There are goalies out there who've been playing for, a couple years, couple goalies who are just facing the position, right now. They're just getting prepped for their first season at goalie. They're veterans out there. What would be your advice for really across the board, any goalie in the off season? What should they be doing in the off season?
In the off season, I would say footwork is one of the biggest things to be, whether it be jumping rope or running ladders, hopping over your stick, like 1 foot hopping over your stick. There's so many different footwork drills that you can do, but getting your foot speed up is paramount to being a successful goalie at any level. Besides that, watching game film, like picking a goalie that you think that matches sort of your style or what you're trying to do, and watching that goalie and watching his every movement, like, slowing down his film and watching him in slow motion, and I think that's for any
Nesbitt as an example.
Yeah, there's better guys than me, but like when I was a kid, I would always watch, like, even though I bash him for saying, that he always says Tuerden wrong, or De Laardu wrong. I watch Quentin Kesnick a lot. He's an unbelievable goalie at Hopkins, and I'm sort of like a similar size to him. And I just thought, well, if this guy killed it and like crushed the game and was the best goalie in the NCAA for a number of years, maybe he was doing something right. And if I watch him, maybe I'll learn something, and I'll learn something that I can take out onto the field and help me be better. So I think watching film and finding somebody that you want to emulate would be a really good thing to do in the off season.
Absolutely. And one thing about watching film, for myself, I always struggled with this when I was watching film in college. Every game we would have film the day after, and it's really easy to just get lost in watching the game. But like Nick was saying, if you can pick a goalie or at any position, a player that you want to emulate or that you feel you have similar qualities to, watch that player the entire time, even when they don't have the ball. Watch the goalie when the ball is top left, top right. Don't watch the ball. Watch the goalie and watch what that goalie does and how they act and what they're doing. Are they yelling? When are they quiet? When are they loud? You can see all that on the game film. and definitely watch when they're getting shot on. But the whole game, you know, lacrosse isn't about just when you get the ball or when you make a save. Lacrosse is about the entire time, and using that game field as an opportunity to grow your game off ball as well is really important.
That is a solid point, because I think a lot of kids will watch a film and they're watching for everyone on the field, as opposed to, you know, typing into YouTube their favorite midi or their favorite attack, D, you know, LSM, goalie, typing it in there, and chances are they're going to get a highlight reel on that particular individual, even if it's 3 minutes. You know, just dig into that 3 minutes and watch exactly what that player is doing, whether they have the ball or not. And I think that last statement right there is huge, especially when you're talking youth and high school. What is the player doing when they don't have the ball? And it's essential, because a lot of kids will, you know, they ball watch, and, you know, you get up to the collegiate level. I mean, Nick, you saw at the championships. We also had the championships, Tom. There's no ball watching. The guys are on the same page. Every single player on that field, whether it's in their defensive end or their offensive end, they're all on the same exact page, and there's no ball watching. They're communicating on such a high level, and you can see that on film, because it's no standing around. Everyone's on their toes, and I agree with the footwork, you know, at goalie and otherwise, because the goalie has 6 guys in front of him, you know, playing for him, so their footwork is as important. So, you know, if a goalie's practicing or training with middies and D, you know, everyone should be working on footwork. Yeah. And one thing I didn't think of was your stick. Your stick can be an awesome training tool. Throw that stick down on the ground, and you can work on some great footwork just with your stick. Yeah. So now, and that kind of is bridging the gap between this and my next question, is suggestions for any players across the board, doesn't matter position, in the off season. What would you suggest?
So obviously we just talked about, you know, finding a player and watching that player and trying to, you know, emulate what that player does, and taking what that player does and putting it into your own game. But also just hitting the wall. Like, as a kid, I would be outside. Like, I wouldn't be sitting inside playing video games ever. I would be outside with my house on the brick wall, throwing a lacrosse ball at it for an hour, for 2 hours. And like, as a goalie, you know, everybody's like, oh, just use your goalie stick. Well, I played box. I played out and box, played transition. So I played defense and box. So I have my player stick. I do, you know, an hour of just throwing the ball off the wall with my player stick, and even doing the same goalie drills that I would do, like stepping to the ball and, like, you know, just off the wall, doing different saves that I might have to make during a game with my player stick, and then switching to a goalie stick, and then playing with that for a bit, and then switching back to my player stick. And I just constantly, you know, switching back and forth, trying different things, you know, putting myself in different positions to where I would have to make different plays, and, you know, getting outside and playing the game, not thinking about it while watching it on TV. I mean, watching it on TV is good for a certain amount of time, but then you got to go out there and do it. And take what you've thought about and put it into practice. It's like a, you know, theoretical wisdom and a prudential wisdom.
When it comes to lacrosse, I feel that wall ball can become addicting, but it's the most positive addiction for the game you could possess. And, you know, you get out there, like you said, you can get as creative as you want to get throwing off the wall, and you're out there by yourself, and you're getting better because you're getting your reps in, but it can be addicting. You can throw your tunes on or earbuds in, you watch Paul Rabel and his wall ball training videos, and that's, you know, he's just got his earbuds in, he's out there training for an hour. And one thing I wanted to allude to as well is the training piece, you know, watching the players on the field, but also, you know, plug in their name in and you know, plug in Nick Nesbitt, you know, your training schedule. What do you do off the field? What types of strength and conditioning programs do you follow? What HIIT programs do you follow? And this is, I mean, I hesitate to say this because, you know, firefighters, it's a brotherhood. You know, police brotherhood, EMS brotherhood, military is a brotherhood. I feel that lacrosse is a brotherhood in that if someone, no matter who it is, if someone had a question for you, Nick, you know, you had a youth player, youth goalie who's just starting out, wants to get better, wants to burn through high school, do awesome, and then play college, my guess is you'd be all right with them connecting with you, even if it's just to share some resources that would work for you.
Absolutely. Growing the game is one of the most fun things about lacrosse because it's a small community, lacrosse community, and but it's like a game that offers so much and has such a rich history that anybody who wants a piece of it, I'm more than happy to help them.
You plan on coaching?
Pardon?
You plan on coaching? You graduated college or no?
Yeah. Well, I have a couple more classes to take, so I'm going to be back at RIT this spring. But coaching Earth Lacrosse, loving Earth Lacrosse, what Earth Lacrosse is about, and especially here in New Mexico where lacrosse is not very big at all. It's pretty cool. Like you see it at like the grassroots level here. It's pretty awesome. Yeah, it's awesome.
Earth Lacrosse is an amazing concept, and it has a lot of very positive energy around it. That's props to you, Tom.
Thanks, man. Yeah, we're pumped. It's fun.
It's really cool. Now, unity, right? I've played hockey. I've played football, soccer, and our vision, and Tom and I have talked about this in the past, we've alluded to it in a couple of other podcasts, the unity piece where you're out there working hard to put the ball in the net, because that's the name of the game, to score the goals. How do you feel this game can get to a point where we'll call it the negative energy and sometimes the politics is kind of left to the side, where at the end of the game, the two teams come together? I've seen a couple films on YouTube where at the end of a game, there's a camaraderie event, camaraderie action, where both teams come together, all players come together. And this is just my idea, you know, lift your sticks up and look up to the sky, because they all made it through the game. They had a great game. They worked hard. How do you feel we can get that unity to this game where people come and watch and it's an experience, not only for the players, but also for the fans, everyone involved, so that it is, I mean, let's face it, my Facebook page, guys, I go to my Facebook page now, and as soon as I can, I move my eyes to the left. Can you guess why I move my eyes to the left? Because the news is just ripping right down the right side of the page,
Yeah.
right? And it's not news to unite people. I mean, you watch the news and there's like, I don't know, I think there was maybe a one showing or one story of it was a really awesome story, a Good Samaritan story, where a kid found a wallet, went to the person's house, showed the wallet to the camera, you know, both sides of the wallet, put the wallet under their doorstep so they knew that their wallet was there. You found the wallet and you gave it back to them, which is really cool. They put that on the news. But I want the good stuff. And I feel that this game, where I'm going with this is I feel this game can get to a point where it's offering people that energy, that positive energy to unite people. Even if you don't play the game, if you go to watch a game, after the game, there's just this positive energy where people walk away from that experience feeling positive, feeling empowered, feeling enlightened. How do you feel we can get to that point?
It's a good question.
Well, let me ask you this in a little more detail. So in college, say you guys played Salisbury State, and it was a hard-fought game, right? You said third quarter was the challenging piece to the game, and that happens. Unfortunately, it happened in the national championship, but that kind of stuff happens. At the end of the game, did everyone come together, or was it more like these guys won, these guys lost, and then they went their separate ways?
Yeah, it was definitely a B, if you will, to where these guys, Salisbury won, us, we, RIT, lost, and we just sort of went our separate ways. We watched Salisbury party, which was the worst thing ever, and we just sort of left the field depressed. Some guys crying, some, feeling defeated, if you will. But there definitely was no point where we came together. Like we did our handshake. They do the ceremony where they bring out the trophy and name a MVP of the game and stuff like that. But at no point was there really like just a celebration of the game itself and a communion of giving thanks to the game, to the ancestors of the game, and there was nothing like that. And I'll have to think on a way that we could do that. I like your idea about bringing a stick and everybody bring their sticks together and looking up and pointing your stick up in the sky. I think that's a good idea. I like at like Lake Placid or Vail, it's pretty awesome because you go out on the field and all these guys, like your team is usually a summer team composed of guys from various teams. Like at one point this summer I played with like a bunch of the Denver guys, Thomas, who played at Brown. We had an Ohio State guy, like on our Vail team, a Delaware guy, like a bunch of different guys on this one team, and we all came together to play together and had fun doing so. And then later in the evening, we'd meet up at the bar with a bunch of the other teams there and stuff like that, and everybody would hang out and party, and there was no issues. And like this guy's like, I saw a guy that had scored on me earlier in the day. And I was like, oh, that was a nice goal, man. Like, you killed it. And he's like, oh, yeah, you're the goalie, right? Like, you had a good game too. Like, and then we cheersed and had a sip of our beer and then went on our way. It's stuff like that, I think, is what you're talking about. But I don't know how you could necessarily do that at the collegiate level after a game or at youth level and stuff like that. But if there was a way to do that, that would be awesome. Whether it be getting together, like instead of having a, one team has their, like the home team usually has a tailgate after the game. What if you invite the other team to the tailgate and, you share and talk and congratulate each other on a great day of lacrosse? That could be something, but I don't know if the competitive nature of collegiate lacrosse and youth lacrosse and everything would allow for that.
And that's what I'm thinking about right now, is that you have athletes who have a level of aggression, a level of focus, a level of competition, and then you have the unity that the game deserves, that unity, that energy that the game deserves. So how do you balance that out? And you just shared right there. You guys play summer ball and you come off the field and it's like it happens innately, right? But then all of a sudden we're now in a more structured environment where there's a trophy. Now it becomes a different game where it's just hard fought, and at the end of the game you split, as opposed to coming together at the end of the game. So you have competitive athletes, and it's a different, just like I can't think of an example right now, but it's a thought process. And if that thought process is if we're able to modify that thought process a bit, where at the end of a lacrosse game, it just happens where people come together at the end. How do you feel right now, the fact that, obviously there's still some sting when you find out you lost in the championship, but how do you feel right now overall in this moment? It passed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the frustration, that anger, that disappointment passed. It probably lasted you how long?
maybe forever, but no, I like it. It's always like a wound, or if you will, but it's, it's a lesson, and there's so many parts of the game, so much of what happened in the game that you can take away and say, all right, well, in moving forward, now that I'm not playing as at such a high level, at the collegiate level, like moving forward, I can take what happened in that game, what went wrong in that game, and learn from that and apply it to life.
And coach your players.
But I've definitely come to peace with the fact that we lost, and I'm never going to wear a national championship ring. Sort of.
Going back to your question about, how do we integrate that connection and unity into the game? I think personally for me, the answer is us. You, Nick, myself, all the individuals who are kind of leading the movement for the next generation. These kids are going to do whatever we do. They're gonna reflect however the guys in the MLL, the NLL, college ranks. They're gonna act how those guys act. They're gonna wear the same socks. They're gonna want the same lacrosse stick, and they're also gonna want to act the same way. So, in my opinion, it starts with us. It starts with us making a conscious effort to include that level of camaraderie in our practices, in our games, in how we interact with other players, other coaches. There's no reason why at the end of every game that you guys play, that we play for our travel team, that at the beginning of the game, I walk up to the opposing coach and I say, Coach, good luck. I hope everybody's safe. I hope everybody plays well. At the end of the game, we do this thing where we all come together after handshakes and share a moment of silence for gratitude for the game, for safety, and for unity, whatever. There's no reason why we can't do that. It falls on us to take the initiative to start to change the culture of the lacrosse community. And that would be my answer to your question is, what do we do? Well, we just start doing it and making it up, and it's going to work. There's truth in that. There's truth in the game. And I think we talk about that a lot on this podcast, which is what is different about lacrosse, and what's different about lacrosse is everything. It's the community, it's the unity, it's the game. That energy is intrinsic in the game without us even putting much energy towards it. And I believe the second that we actually start putting energy towards that, it's exponential. The feeling of connection can be exponential if we consciously take the steps to embody that.
Blaze a trail.
Yeah.
It's important for people to step up and blaze a trail. So a vision that I have right now is at the end of the game, we go and shake the ref's hands. I make sure all my players go and shake the ref's hands. And then after we shake the ref's, we do the handshake going through the middle of the field. But maybe instead of the handshake going through the middle of the field, it's everyone coming together right in the middle. Both teams legitimately coming together and putting their sticks up and, thanking the creator. Everyone made it through the game. It was a good game, hard-fought game. And then you break on that. Both teams break on that.
Yeah.
And, it's just about a couple people getting out there doing it and saying, Coach, walking up to the coach at the beginning of the game, let him know. Or, if you're connected with the coaches to a point where you can communicate with them before the game, let them know after the game, this is what I plan on doing. It would be great if your players should come in and join us, because that's where this vision is. That's where my vision is that both teams come together at the end. But if you don't, man, all good. You're going to have, I guarantee I'm going to have at least a couple of teams throughout the season who are going to join us and do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So because I see my son, he's 9, and my other son's 11, and I see him at the end of the games. They're playing baseball right now, and not to knock any other sport by any means, but it's just everyone splits. And yes, work hard, especially in the NCAA level, at the pro level, work hard. But at the end, if you get that unity, the fans are like, oh my goodness, this is really cool. They just beat the heck out of each other, and now everyone's coming together, and there's such a solid energy around this. People walk away with a really positive vibe.
Yeah.
So I dig this. Nick, thank you very much. Any other things you can offer to us? It sounds like you're off and running. You got a couple more classes left at RAT. And what's your game plan? What are you going to be doing for work?
Right now I'm working for Earth Lacrosse, hanging out here in New Mexico, helping Thomas with some social media stuff. We're working on a few different projects and, brainstorming and, thinking about how we can grow Earth Lacrosse and grow the message of Earth Lacrosse. After that, I think Earth Lacrosse is always going to be something that's part of my life. That's something that I want, something that Thomas wants. So besides that, I studied political science. I want to do my master's in maybe next year. And I have no idea what, but I'm leaning towards environmental public policy. And then also thinking about maybe law school, but hey, trying to live in the here and now. So we'll see what happens.
And it's neat. You can wake up in the morning and it sounds like you wake up and you are doing something that you love to do, that being working with Earth Lacrosse. Like we said before, phenomenal company, unbelievable concept. And you're waking up, you're about to graduate college and you're doing now what millions of people wish they could do. And that is wake up in the morning and do exactly what it is that they love. So if I can make a suggestion, don't veer too far off that path. Make sure you're waking up in the morning and you're stoked about what you're doing. Because Tom and I have talked about that before. Tom wakes up in the morning, wife, kid, and then just doing what he loves to do. And you can see it, you can feel it from people who are stoked. And keep on that path. Understand that you are about to say bye-bye to college.
Yeah, seriously.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your time, Nick. Like you wouldn't believe. Tom, always appreciate your time.
Yeah, man. Thank you, Chad. Really appreciate what you're doing.
My pleasure. And we'll get this saved and up on YouTube, so we'll have it out. And likely, I'm going to talk with my buddy Dave and see when we can get an actual podcast. We get some podcasts going. But Nick, again, thank you very much. And
yeah, thanks for having me.
My pleasure.
Awesome.
Maybe we'll have you back down the line, see how things are going.
Yeah, for sure. I would love to.
Thank you, guys.
Cool.